How did one of Europe's oldest cities become its newest obsession? Tourists are arriving in record numbers, the airport is breaking records, and more people from all over the world are choosing to call this city home. So we came here with one question: why? Is it the history, the hills, the pastel de nata, the beaches? Or is it something less obvious? The atmosphere, the pace, the light, the way the city makes you feel. This is our first time in Lisbon, and we're exploring the sights, the coast, the culture, and the stories that might explain why everyone is so obsessed with it. We're Madison and Ivan. Let's madventure. Bom dia from Lisboa. After several days of cold, rainy weather, the sun is finally shining, and we cannot wait to explore this stunning city.
This is the Praça do Comércio, and it makes a lot of sense to start your tour here because right here is the river, which is like a main reason why the city of Lisbon exists and grew into the amazing center of commerce that it was. It was like a major port here when you cross the Atlantic, as all of the exploration was happening out of Lisbon. This is where the palace sat prior to the earthquake in 1755 that like really wiped out the entire city. But it rebuilt, rose like a phoenix from the ashes, thanks to the king that we see right up here in the center of the square and his prime minister, who is also featured. And looking here at the statue in the middle, we also see the elephants that are like a symbol of the vast empire that spread down to Africa, into Asia. Speaking of Asia, we also see the arch over here, featuring Vasco da Gama, who is credited as being someone that did discover Asia for Portugal.
Vasco da Gama sailed down around the southern tip of Africa and back up north. And that discovery launched Portugal like into being a global superpower overnight. Just unlocked a whole new trade and all of these like foreign exotic goods. Portugal became a hub for that trade. On the two sides, the river gods of great significance to Portugal. On the left, the river god Tagus, this beautiful river here. It feeds into the ocean and was the start of every famous expedition out of Portugal. The right side, just as importantly, we have the river Douro from a little further north from here, where the grapes are grown. You can see he's holding a grapevine. The grapes that are a famous export of Portugal for the port wine.
On the right side, we see the guy with the giant sword, and he is the general who led the War of Independence from foreigners here in Portugal. It's also just really fun, the like European experience that's like so classic and just a way of life here, that we have like a protest going on, and then literally like 10 feet away from that protest, there are people like blowing bubbles and just like so many kids playing.
Quintessentially European.
While there's a rich history and a lot of cool sights to see in the city, we're already getting a sense that Lisbon is about so much more. As we wander the streets, we feel ourselves starting to breathe deeper and relax. Nobody here's at a rush. It feels really safe, and there is beauty all around you. The natural beauty of the hills and the river, the artistic beauty of the sidewalks and tiled houses and architecture, and you have to slow down to experience it all properly.
Talking about the city rebuilding after the earthquake, this is a really interesting piece of that, because this is like looks like a kind of a typical beautiful European church, but as they were rebuilding, they had to really consider practicality and the commercialization of the city. And so here on the side, there's actually shops. Like, it is the facade of a gorgeous church here on the front, but like literally right here is a t-shirt shop. So cool.
Like, even originally, that's how it was designed. This isn't like a modernization of it.
built modernization as in like in the 1700s when they rebuilt versus when this city was initially built long before that. But like, yeah, super modern, like 1700s choices.
Enlightenment era.
After the earthquake, the Prime Minister Pombal rebuilt the city with a focus on practicality.
Everything 5 stories tall, standardized. Retail on the bottom, and then 4 floors of housing. All grid formation, uniform width. It's nice. But like still with that European charm, especially with the added tiles. During the initial construction, it was a little practical, pragmatic, austerity oriented. But then once they, things were recovering, they're like, how can we beautify this? And they said, oh, tile work. We make beautiful tiles. Just line the entire outside, adds a little insulation as well. And then they did all the tile mosaics on the ground, but they used materials that are abundant here. They use black basalt and they use limestone, but with this black and white pattern throughout the city.
But it's just cool to like see this combination of practicality and beauty. So this is Confetaria Nacional, and this is the oldest pastry shop in all of Lisbon. It started in 1829. It used to provide these sweets for Portuguese royalty, but now it's providing sweets for people like you and me. Sweets became like a huge part of life here in Lisbon. Thanks to Brazil, Portugal had great access to lots of sugar and sugar cane. And then the nuns here were actually using egg whites to like starch their habits. So there were tons of egg yolks left over from that process. So bada bing, bada boom, the nuns were making lots and lots of sweets that they were selling places like this sweet shop right here behind us. And it's honestly so beautiful. Doing a little bit of liquid sightseeing here in Lisbon.
We told you earlier that the nuns took care of the sweets. Well, the monks took care of the liquor. That's good. Ooh, strong. But the sweetness cuts it really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is strong. She said, what, like 30% or something?
Yeah, like 23% alcohol. Ooh. You can feel the warmth coming down.
We have gotten ginjinja. This is the oldest place selling this sort of similar to like a sour cherry liqueur that is like the thing to get in Lisbon. You can get this at any time of day actually. They even sell it at like the pastel de nata spots. Like this is such a popular liquid part of the cultural experience here. The perfect balance of sweet and sour and very strong, but also very dangerously drinkable. And we actually also just went to, this is like one of the main churches here in Portugal. This is where like royalty got married back in the day. And it's really an interesting place to like see the country's history here. You can see just like the charred walls from like the fires that took over the city after the earthquake. Stunning architecture that's been there since like the 1400s. We just went in while the service was going on, and to see this like modern, like, I mean, it's still a traditional Catholic church service, but like still it's like modern day worshipers worshiping in this stunning place, just full of history, full of this historic architecture. It's just like, honestly, maybe one of my favorite churches we've ever been in. That was incredible. Yeah. Maybe this is getting me even more excited about it. We didn't stay for communion, so we had to skip ahead and get some ginjinja out here. I'm loving the Portuguese culture.
If a church dating back to the 1200s seems old, this square dates back over 2,000 years. It was used for chariot races during the Roman Empire. And here in the square is King Dom Pedro IV, who granted Brazil its independence.
I declare everyone must have canned sardines.
This is the train station, and it's super cool because although it was built in the 1900s, it's designed in the style of Portugal's golden age in the 1500s. Bom dia! It's another day exploring this beautiful city, and we're starting today taking in the views. Lisbon is the city of 7 hills, which means you get a workout in without trying to pretty much no matter where you go. But it also means incredible viewpoints all over the place.
This viewpoint is stunning, and it's so cool to be able to see like how much of the city we've explored already. So we are up here now in Bairro Alto, but down there kind of in the valley is where we just were.
Baixo.
You can see all the way over to the water. You can see the cathedral we saw, and then we can see the castle. Just incredible. This is such a beautiful, beautiful city no matter where you're standing, but it's really cool to have this overhead look. Next, Bairro Alto, which seems like this nice kind of cute residential historic sort of like grid streets. Very nice, a little quiet, but this is actually where we're staying, and we can tell you that it is only like that right now, but when evening hits, oh my goodness, this place is the party street. It's like the Hannah Montana of neighborhoods. Right now, cute, quiet, beautiful neighborhood. Tonight, craziest party. Every single night of the week, craziest party that you've ever seen. And we did just notice for the first time, they actually do have little signs about being quiet to respect their residents, but I think they hung them too high, and no one that drunk is gonna read up in the sky like that.
We have made it to the Convento do Carmo. This convent was mostly destroyed in the earthquake in 1755, but the ruins are still here as a reminder of the event that changed the city forever and the resilience of the Portuguese people. And speaking of resilience, this plaza, Largo do Carmo, is where Portuguese Freedom Day is celebrated at midnight on April 25th, the anniversary of the Carnation Revolution in 1974, a peaceful demonstration that led to the end of a fascist dictatorship and the beginning of modern democracy. From one hill to another, we took the trolley up toward the castle, one of Lisbon's most iconic landmarks, where forts have stood for centuries defending this city. But honestly, before you even think about the history, the views are what stop you. From up here, Lisbon stretches out in every direction. Red rooftops, the river, the bridges, the hills, and somehow there are peacocks just casually wandering around the castle grounds like they own the place. And you have to walk the castle walls to soak it all in. Sunsets in Lisbon are absolutely magical and have become one of my favorite Lisbon traditions. All over the city, every viewpoint fills with people. friends sharing bottles of wine, couples sitting on stone walls, rooftop bars, everyone facing the same golden sky. It feels less like an activity and more like a daily ritual here. And to me, that is the magic of Lisbon. Appreciating the views, the moments, and the people around you. Slowing down, taking a breath, and finding joy and beauty every single day in the simple things. Whether it's the view on your walk, a pastel de nata, or a bigger thing like these stunning historic sites or taking a beach day. This city is something so special, and I can't wait to explore more and taste more and share it with you. Thanks so much for joining me for this mad adventure. Please hit those subscribe and like buttons. It truly helps so much, and I'll see you on the next one.